Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching Healthy Alternative. Today, I want to talk about the benefits of Michael, and today we're going to be talking about...
Today we'll be making one of my favorite soups.
Welcome to the JR72 Challenge.
I am Animated Mel, and I am your mental and wellness coach for
As always, perfection is not needed, but consistency.
We must first lovingly accept what is. You can't heal a body you hate.
No matter what, you have to put yourself first. If you're not aware that there's change that needs to be made, how can you fix it? This information is fire.
I had to come to the realization that, number one, I was an emotional eater.
We need to accept the decisions that we make, because if we can do that, then we have the power to change them. You came here so that way you can start moving into your heaven path. Once again, thank you very much. We're going to bring up your next speaker. That's going to be the wonderful, magnificent Chris James.
If you talk about how much you hate your fat, your body has been working all this time to keep you alive. I don't think anybody in my circle understands impossible. That's it right there, man. Welcome. Yeah. Welcome. Hey, y'all. Get them likes up. No, I'm just joking. But if y'all can get the likes up real quick, you know what I'm saying? We've been having a lot of fun past week, man. We've been doing a lot of live streams. We've been seeing a lot of unique information from the coaches. I think that the R72 challenge is a great opportunity for us to like promote and sell ourselves, for you guys to learn a lot more about what we have going on. And so because of that, you know, I think you guys have got to see some unique information from the coaches and just a unique side. So that's been fun for me to watch. So today we are going to hit you quick, fast, and dirty. So y'all got to be ready, because last night, Steven did a incredible coaching session. Like, look, I told the coaches, I'm like, hey, I want you guys to, you know, showcase a little bit of your talent. Let the greater community know what it is they're going to get from, you know, either joining our challenge or being a part of our community, or just even subscribing and being a part of the channel. And all of the coaches have done an amazing job of doing that. And then last night, Steven just put the cherry on top. Boom. But there was so much energy around the lesson last night. I mean, the views are still just going through the roof. So if you haven't seen it, y'all got to go watch that lesson. But I think that, you know, this will be a good opportunity for us to add a little bit more to what, you know, Steven put out there yesterday. So, yeah, I sprinkle a little bit. I said, hey, Steve, I said, listen, man, they really liked what you did last night, man. Can you give them a little bit more? Steve said, I already got the lesson right here. So that's how we're gonna kick it off tonight. So if you guys saw that live stream last night, you already know what's coming up. And then you know what I'm saying? You're gonna kick the ball to your boy. So anyway, Steve and Michael, welcome to the channel. Welcome back. Not even 24 hours. You know,
not even 24 hours. We're right about that 24-hour mark. Well, thank you. I definitely do appreciate it. A lot of people after that live last night reached out to me in AJ communities, and you know, really a lot of the feedback that I got, it touched me. And the reason that live for me was so important was because that's actually the first time that I have actually taught in that way. Right, in almost a teaching setting, just straight live to the masses of the AHA family. So those of you that have been a part of, you know, some of our other challenges, the JR72, or you've been a part of R72s before in the past, you have seen the different types of ways that I teach and some of the theories that I have even presented. and connecting some of these dots that we, that a lot of times people don't really think about, or they don't really connect. And I feel like that really is one of my strong points, is really taking a subject that we are working on and maybe we don't really quite understand it, right? But to present a piece of information to have us think differently or shift our perspective on the way that we view a certain item. So last night we talked about fat, right? And we talked about fat in the terms of like fat cells and how they actually work and what are the basics of them. And we then began to understand a little more deeply about fat. And there are 3 different items that are inside of fat that we need to then remove or have processed out in order for us to then properly decrease the fat on our body. One of those things was hydration. The other thing was nutrition. And the third thing was toxins. And if you do not effectively remove all 3 of those from the body, you will struggle with fat loss. Now, there's something that we kind of have to understand. There's a difference between fat loss and weight loss. They're not the same, right? So fat loss is going to be the decrease or the removal of the resources inside of fat, which then cause them to then shrink, okay? If you are then looking at weight loss can happen from sweat. Weight loss can happen from cleaning the bowels. Weight loss can happen from the decrease of inflammation. It can happen in all different kinds of ways. Both of them are important, okay? But something that's very important that we need to truly understand is that you cannot have you cannot have fat loss unless you have weight loss, okay? And I know that kind of makes sense, but stay with me here, okay? Because you can have weight loss without having fat loss, but you can't have fat loss without weight loss. So then the question is, once again, well, what is weight, right? It goes back to what I just explained in all the different ways that you can lose weight. And tonight, we're going to kind of really quickly touch on inflammation. So let me pull up my my little PDF here. You guys know, some of you don't know, but you guys know I love my little PDFs, man. I've been working on these. And I always put these little lessons together because Chris taught me something, right? Shout out to my mentor, right? He was teaching and he was talking about how whenever you are teaching or someone is learning something, people tend to retain more information the more senses that they use. So that's why, and now a lot of my teachings, I do try to bring in visuals in some way, even if it is the similar information to what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's different when someone can just read it, right? When it may be the same thing, but when they read it, it's now more visual and they retain the information more. So I have then picked up something from Chris and I'm like, you know what? Let me then add more visuals into my teaching. And of course, eventually as things progress, I'm going to add like pictures and things like that. But this is why I've even started to change a few different things, because Chris said something and I listened to what he says, right? Because I've watched him grow and I've watched him build the things that he's built. And I'm like, when Chris talks, I listen, right? Just like a lot of times people listen to me. When Chris talks, I listen, right? He's my teacher. So let's go ahead and get into it a little bit, right? So we're going to talk about very quickly. So Chris, don't get mad at me. Right. This is kind of a follow-up to last night's lesson. So if you saw last night's lesson, then a lot of this can kind of make sense. It'll make sense if you didn't see it, but they really kind of go hand in hand. And if you didn't see last night's, you really want to go see that, because I think it was very informative based upon the feedback that was given. Right. So let's talk about the missing key in fat loss. So usually when we state that we want to lose weight, what are we actually really saying? Right? If you say, well, I want to lose weight because I deal with a lot of people one-on-one as well as in the group settings. And then as we kind of progress and we talk, I find out what they really want to do is they want to lose fat. Because once again, you can lose all kinds of weight, but what they really want to do is lose fat, right? And that's what that basically is saying. I want to lose fat. When they say I want to lose weight, right? We hear that we can lose weight in terms of water weight or inflammation, right? Weight from clearing or cleansing the bowels, or weight from loss of muscle or muscle atrophy. which we really don't want to do that. You want to keep your muscle, right? You definitely want to clean the bowels, and you definitely want to decrease inflammation, right? But we don't want to lose muscle. So we need to even starting shifting the way that we use certain words, right? Because I don't have a problem with the term weight loss, but I think that it's important for our understanding, our mentality, to understand what we're really saying is we want fat loss. And that's very important to really grasp. And in order for you to then create a state of fat loss, then you need to decrease inflammation, right? So for us to decrease fat in the body, it requires a decrease in inflammation. We don't really think about that, but it is an absolute requirement. This is why, like I saw in the group, actually, probably about 30 minutes before this live started, somebody was talking about, they said, I lost 4 pounds my first day of fasting. Is that normal? They're brand new to the group, right? They said, I lost 4 pounds my first day. Is that normal? And then people were saying yes. And then somebody decided to sneak in a little bit of a little slick comment. And they said, yes, but it's all water weight. So don't get too excited, or something of that nature. Maybe they didn't say don't get too excited. That's the energy I got from it. And it made me think, right? And I was just like, I didn't say anything because there's really no reason for me to. But it frustrated me because what we don't understand, what we are taught is that, oh, well, this weight in the beginning is just water weight. It doesn't matter. This weight that you're losing, it doesn't count. This weight, when we're doing preparation prior to fasting, it's like, oh, it's just water weight. It doesn't count. It absolutely matters. And it is a requirement for it to be decreased before you can lose fat. Why is that? Well, let's look at inflammation, right? Let's look at what inflammation is. And then if you did watch the video yesterday, this is going to make even more sense to you. But let's look at why inflammation and decreasing inflammation is a requirement prior to fat loss, right? So inflammation, what is it? Inflammation is the body's natural defense response to tissue damage, viruses, bacteria, foreign objects, chemicals, or radiation. That's the definition of inflammation summed up, right? It's a process that's governed by the immune system, and it's essential for healing. Right? So our immune system is primarily made up of the lymphatic system, but it is governed by the immune system, and its job is to heal. So inflammation is something that is always there. It's never going away. As long as you're alive and you have breath in your body, you're going to have the ability, or you're going to have inflammation, right? This is important to understand. So all inflammation is not necessarily bad. Inflammation in and of itself is not the root of all evil. It is the cause of inflammation, or what is causing inflammation to then arise, that really is the issue. But we can blame inflammation. That's okay. But it's never going away. Okay. Now you have different types of inflammation, 2 primarily, right? You have short-lived inflammation, or what we would call acute inflammation. So let's say you get a cut on your arm, you get a bruise, right? You get a little knot, you get a knot on your forehead and it swells up, you get a pimple. All of these are acute inflammation. You have a little bit of wrist pain, right? You have a little soreness in your back. These are forms of acute or small, short-lived inflammation. That's not that bad. That's actually a normal response, and it is needed, okay? The inflammation is doing something very important in those moments. We then have what we call chronic or long-term inflammation. Right? So acute inflammation goes away within a few days or a couple hours, right? While chronic inflammation can last for months or years. Months or years. Let's look at that a little more, right? Chronic inflammation can be a symptom of other health conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, right? Or autoimmune diseases. If you were in the PAM call earlier, I talked about autoimmune diseases and what they really are, right? Shout out to the PAM fam, right? And they can lead to pain, disability, and long-term tissue damage, right? But why, once again, is chronic inflammation so bad? Why is it so bad? Well, let's go back to the definition of inflammation, right? Inflammation is the natural body's defense in response, which means something was there first, to tissue damage, viruses, bacteria, foreign objects, chemicals, or radiation. What are almost all of those things called? It starts with a T. I think you guys know. Toxins, right? So chronic inflammation says can lead to other health conditions, right? Like autoimmune disease, pain, disability, long-term tissue damage. And what are all of these things? They are toxins, right? So, and because we have too many toxins in the body, this leads to chronic inflammation, right? And what is inflammation made up of? It's primarily made up of plasma fluid, right? So this is going to be a lot from your lymphatic system, but it's also made up of other liquids. There's other different cells inside of it, right? You have antivirals, antibacterials, all of these things that are inside of your body, right? You have white cells, you have T cells, all of them are mixed into inflammation, and you have hydration. All of these things are mixed in. So you don't necessarily ingest something that then is making you inflamed, right? You're not like drinking a gallon of water and now all of a sudden you're inflamed because of the water. The body is creating the inflammation in order to deal with the amount of toxins that are inside of it now, right? So this is why, oh, sorry, I jumped ahead of myself, right? So whenever we have an excess of tissue damage, viruses, bacteria, chemicals, radiation, right, in the body, inflammation will be intelligently, right, a very important word, intelligently created by the body equal to the amount of stimuli that is inside of the tissues, right? So if you have an extremely strong bacteria that is causing a lot of distress, right? Or let's just use the word toxin because that's what they all are. So if you have an extreme amount of toxins, the body is going to intelligently increase inflammation in order for it to buffer or to then deal with the amount of toxins that you have in the body. And then when you have that accumulation of toxins in a specific area, then over time, this can cause tissue damage. And then this is when they give you a diagnosis, okay? Now, all of this is based around toxins, right? Now, for those of you who were in the call last night, you may have started to put this together, but we have an understanding of the dirty secret that fat cells are hiding, and that is toxins, right? So we have to understand that what a fat cell is. A fat cell is a storage form. It is a reservoir, and it primarily stores three things: water, nutrition, and toxins. It is designed to quarantine these things so they don't get into the body. And the reason that it quarantines them in heavy amounts is because the liver typically is a little overburdened. It's struggling to do its job. So what the liver does, it communicates with fat cells, right, using exosomes. And what those do is the liver tells the fat cells, do not release. If you have too many toxins in the body, right, which means inflammation is high, it will tell the fat cells, the liver will tell the fat cells, do not release. So you may be doing all the right things. You're going to the gym, you're eating the right foods, right? But you have so many toxins in the body, the liver is like, I don't care what you do, we are not releasing these fat cells. And guess what fat cells also have the ability to do? They also have the ability to regulate metabolism. So you can be doing all the right things, but it will not upregulate metabolism if there's too many toxins inside of them. And the liver is overburdened to deal with the amount of toxins that the fat is holding. So if we are thinking about fat in the terms of, oh, we got to move more and we got to eat less and we got to increase protein and yada, 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 we're thinking about this all wrong. What we need to be focused on is how can I decrease the amount of inflammation in the body, right? And what this does is then it has us look at, well, then how can I decrease the toxins in the body? And then if we decrease the toxic load in the body, the liver will dump first, it'll process things out. It will then signal through exosomes to the fat cells, it's okay to now release what you have. The fat cells will then release those toxins from themselves. The liver can then process them. And then if you are in a process where you're able to decrease the amount of nutrition in the cells, right, which we talked about that, and there's different ways to do it, and then decrease the amount of hydration in the cells, this is how you get exponential fat loss in the body. And there's nothing that does that better than fasting, right? Let me not get ahead of myself, right? But this is why we lose water weight first. When we begin any type of weight loss protocol, we lose water weight first. What is the body doing? It's trying to release the inflammation. It's working to release that buffer because long-term or chronic inflammation is damaging. It's like, yo, this is really bad. It's so bad, it has to release it first. Before you can start decreasing fat, you have to decrease inflammation. You cannot decrease fat without decreasing inflammation first. There's a reason. Because the body is very intelligent and it prioritizes survivability. And if there's something that is damaging it, it will remove it first. It's always going to prioritize the most important thing first. If you have a cell in the body that is damaged, that is not replicating properly, and then now it's taking electrons from other cells, then it will then turn cancerous. It will turn sentient. So what does the body do? It then starts taking other cells from other healthy organs, and it starts to prioritize the danger. There's a red flag, red alert. Danger, Will Robinson, danger, right? It starts to quarantine that cell. Are we following me here, right? Prioritization, right? But the body is buffering the negative contents, so it causes less damage. And when you give the elimination organs, right, the liver, right, a chance to work without constantly being bombarded, it allows the body to finally flush inflammation and can begin actively cleaning up the damage and then start signaling to fat cells it's okay to release. See, a lot of times we are really struggling with fat and we don't realize that we're going about it all the wrong way. Diet and exercise does not work. It doesn't. What you were doing is you were decreasing the inflammation inside of the body. And it wasn't because of the exercise, it was because you changed your diet. And the reason that we know this and the reason they know this is because every single diet pill, every single diet shake, every single diet program, every single one tells you results may vary and should be coupled with a dietary recommendation. Am I lying? Tell me when I'm telling lies, right? Every single one of them. Why? Because they don't work. I'm not saying that exercise is not important. It is. Actually, exercise is actually quite inflammatory. Did I just say that? Exercise is quite inflammatory. Why is exercise inflammatory? Because I just taught you what inflammation is, right? Inflammation arises. It is a natural defense in response to a tissue damage. What happens when you go and lift weights? Do you not damage tissue? Do you not break down those tissues? You absolutely do. And then the body then has to send inflammation, or what in the bodybuilding world or in the gym world they call a pump. Come on, right? That's inflammation to the damage that you just did in the tissue. It now increases very quickly, right? And then it does that so it can now heal. The fuel that it uses to heal are called proteins. Proteins are broken down into amino acids. Those amino acids are the ones that actually go in and fuel the body to then heal that damage that you just created. And then it decreases the inflammation and your pump goes away. Come on, man. Let's stop playing here, right? So how do we remove inflammation? We want to remove fat. We don't have to worry about removing fat. We need to worry about removing inflammation, which means what I'm really saying is we need to focus on decreasing toxins. In order to decrease toxins, we have to decrease the most toxifying things in our environment. These are the things that we breathe, the things that we put on our skin, the water that we drink, and the food that we eat. So the easiest thing you can do to begin decreasing inflammation is changing your diet, right? And before we even start working on some of the deeper versions of of inflammation or the chronic inflammation, we got to get rid of the easy inflammation, the inflammation up top, right? It's always easy before it gets harder. You know that, right? So we start with just changing our diet, right? And if you have done AJ preparation, right, that Chris is so marvelously crafted, you understand that this is true, because as soon as you start going through preparation and you start changing your diet, what happens? You start losing weight. Why? Because the body is prioritizing the decrease of inflammation. And when you go into fasting, you immediately start losing fat. You want to talk about a way to optimize your fat loss? You start doing that 7-day preparation prior to fasting, right? And then you immediately start losing fat. Come on, man. You don't know the preparation you said? It's okay. We'll teach you in the R72. Right? So, some of the top most inflammatory foods. Now, I'm not saying that all of these are necessarily bad, but you can go through this list, right? But these are the most inflammatory foods that you can eat. These are foods that cause inflammation. What causes inflammation? What causes inflammation? It is the body's natural response to tissue damage, viruses, bacteria, foreign objects, chemicals, or radiation. These are the most inflammatory foods. That means that they cause tissue damage. That means that these foods will cause, they have bacteria, they have viruses, right? They have radiation, they have chemicals. Maybe there's foreign objects in them, microscopic ones, microplastics, things you can't see. But there's something in these foods that are causing the body to then increase or become extremely inflamed, right? So number one, high fructose corn syrup. I'm going to go through these quickly, right? And a lot of these just make sense. These are your candies, your fast food, your ice cream, treats, applesauce, right? Processed food with sugar, which is applesauce as well, right? But even moderately processed foods with added sugar. There's a difference between something that has a naturally occurring sugar and then an added sugar, right? Soda and sweetened beverages. Doesn't matter. I don't care if it is Diet Coke. There's all this thing on the internet right now about aspartame and saying, oh, well, it's not that bad. It is that bad. Da, da, da. I'm telling you, it's bad. And the reason it's bad is because it's inflammatory. It's not bad just because of the aspartame. It's not good because it's 0 calories. It's bad because it's inflammatory and it's dehydrating, right? Things like Dole, your juices, Dole, Mott's, Red Bull, things like that. Trans fats, you're going to find these in a lot of your baked goods, margarine, vegetable shortening, refined carbohydrates, these are like white rice flour, breads, pastas, things that you are not making from scratch, right? But if you're using flour, they're no good, right? We're talking about white flour here, right? There's other better types of flours, right? But regular flour. Red meat. Me personally, and I'm going to be very honest here, because I could have just left this as it was, but I want to be honest and transparent. I think that for red meat in particular, the things that make it inflammatory is not particularly just the actual meat in and of itself, right? I think that if an animal was raised 100% the proper way, and it was raised eating a wild diet and things that it naturally is supposed to be eating, I don't think it would be as inflammatory. But the reason that it's inflammatory is because the animals are very sick, their diet is very bad, and then you are eating the tissue of that tortured animal, which has a ton of adrenaline in it, and then now you have to process it. It becomes extremely inflammatory to your body, okay? Processed meats, so bacon, sausage, hot dogs, bologna, pepperoni, salami, right? All processed meats are extremely inflammatory. And I know this one hurts. This one hurts me too, right? French fries and all fried foods, right? So these actually, I did a whole thing on French fries, right? Or fried foods in general, but they are so bad. Fried foods are so bad. They spike inflammation immediately, and it stays high for 3 full days before it even begins to start coming down. Fried foods are really bad. Not necessarily, and I understand that, we can look at the oil, right, in those foods, but just a general, right, you can get away with certain fried foods if you use better oils, but just in general, when you fry something, it's going to increase inflammation. And there's better ways to do this. I'm not saying you have to give everything up, but there's better ways to do it, but just know this is what's going to happen, right? Ultra processed foods, right? These are things like packaged snacks, chips, cookies, non-dairy creamers, microwavable meals, basically anything on the back that has a label that reads contains bioengineered ingredients. These are ultra processed and they're highly, highly inflammatory, which means that they're full of chemicals, right? And then the last one is alcohol, right? We don't have to explain that. We know that it's bad. It's bad for the liver. It literally makes your liver drunk, right? And makes it loses its inability to process, right? And then it's also bad for the spirit as well, just in totality. But they're very inflammatory, okay? Now, after we have gone through a process of decreasing surface level or acute inflammation, right? This is what changes after the first couple of days of a preparation, right? We then can go deeper into a detoxification phase. We have to get rid of the top level inflammation first. And then when we get rid of that top level inflammation, then we start removing, right, those 3 items from the fat cell. We can start removing the hydration, the stored nutrition, and the deep stored toxins in the fat cell. And you do that by detoxifying, right? You can do that by using different juices, right? Using cilantro and parsley and different juices like that. But the best way to do that, the best way is to then start a sort of fasting. And to wrap, we have to understand that there is nothing in the body that detoxes the body or heals the body or cleanses the body better than the body. There's actually nothing that heals the body at all. All right. And I know some people are like, what are you talking about? Herbs and fruits and vegetables. No, they don't actually do the healing. They feed the cells that allow the body to do the healing. They are just simply the fuel, right? Herbs in and of themselves simply stimulate the organs, or they wake organs up and cause them to do their job. Because a lot of times the organs have become sluggish, right? Or they're bombarded or filled with toxins, and they have a very difficult time doing their job. This is why we have so much inflammation in the body. It is from a buildup of toxins, and there's nothing better to remove toxins, deep stored toxins, than fasting. So this is why it's so important that we go through periods of fasting. This is why we have the R72 and why it's so popular. Why so many people join it every single time we do the challenge, because not only does it allow you to go through the preparation phase that allows you to remove some of that surface level or acute inflammation, then it goes in and then it allows the body to then start to open up those fat cells and remove those 3 items inside of the fat cells. And this is how you get true fat loss, right? Where you actually shrink the fat cells and you can make huge change in your life. So I'm thank you guys for letting me kind of pick up. Chris, thank you for kind of letting me kind of finish that up because last night was a lot. So I hope this is beneficial.
It's been incredible, actually. Shoot, I was sitting back. The reason why I was so hype about your lesson last night was because you took what I originally began teaching years ago, and you broke it down in more of a scientific format. And I think this is one of the benefits of the team. People, you know, we have our own expertise, we have our own way of teaching, we have our own way of learning. So what you get the opportunity to do is learn different ways. Some people really enjoy that scientific breakdown, understanding how the cells operate on a micro level. Some people, that's difficult for them to digest, so they like analogies. As I was thinking about, you know, how the body functions, how the fat releases toxins, and how you actually are going to get the results you want, I was thinking about like warehouses. I'm thinking about Amazon. I'm thinking about how Amazon gets a package from their warehouse or from one of their partner facilities to your door. The entire process that allows that to happen. I'm thinking about Christmas time when a ton of orders come in and completely flood the facilities, and how they deal with managing the packages and making sure that everything gets done in a timely manner. And I used to work at Amazon, and they have a system where there's a timer. Every package has like a timer on it, right? So their system is typically first in, first out. There's obviously always those small tweaks, but if I order my package on Monday and Steven orders his package on Wednesday and they're backed up, my package should be, for the most part, is going to be the first package that goes out, unless there's some crazy circumstance where my package is busted or something weird, you know what I mean? My package is going to go out before Steven's. Now, when we look at the body, we think about fat, we think about, you know, the toxicity that we have stored in the fat cells. You ate a hamburger when you were 3 years old. Is the toxicity from that hamburger still in your fat stores? So if it is, the body's going to follow the same logic. First in, first out. This is why it becomes problematic when you try to target areas of the body. And everybody wants to do this. They want to spot address the love handles, the stomach, the hips, the thighs. Chris, how do I just get rid of my thighs? How do I just get rid of my gut? How do I just get rid of my love handles? That's not the way it works. And part of the reason why there's people are not successful holistically is there, look, if the customer is saying, I want to spot reduce, I want to reduce just this area of weight or this area that I want to deal with, a company will be like, okay, cool, we'll help you do that. And they might come out with a product that temporarily gives you results, or it might just be all marketing. Like a lot of times it's just marketing, it's all fluff. And the problem is, as customers, it's almost like we're children when it comes to some of this stuff. We don't understand how it really works. That's why Stephen's lesson was so important and I think so impactful, because we're starting to understand how this works. So if the fat that you have from 2 years old, 3 years old is still in your system for whatever reason, the body is going to remove the body is going to deal with that. Actually, you know what, Steve? This analogy is reverse. It's reverse. I just realized I was saying it in reverse.
Said first in, first out. And I'm like, okay, well, bring this around.
Bring it all around. I'm gonna reverse it.
You piling too much on top. You were going well, right? But when the Amazon analogy, right, you put your order in first, you should get your order first, right? But you may actually not, based upon how the orders came in and how everything works. So what should happen?
I should have went down with that. I should have went with that.
You made a wrong turn. GPS.
Hey, sometimes I gotta make a U-turn. It's okay. The analogy still kind of will work, maybe a little bit. The point is, the body is going to work. The body's going to work in the most efficient way possible. So if we go back to the Amazon analogy, you might think my order goes in first, my order comes out first. Okay, scratch that. Sometimes there are those extreme, those circumstances where the Amazon's going to reroute your package and it's going to take care of the priority first. There we go.
Prime customers, man.
Prime customer. It's going to take care of the priority first. That's how I should have did it. Anyway, so the point is, it is going to take care of the most recent damage that you did, the damage that's going to be the most impacting, because the damage actually builds up in layers over time. And so I think, Stephen, you mentioned this. The body is going to prioritize, which is important to understand, because your priority and the body's priority may not be the same thing. You know, that's where things get a little wonky. So this is why it's better to approach it from a standpoint of holistic health, wellness, weight loss, etc., versus trying to target and spot treat, because you and your body could be in different places. But if you get in alignment with your system, right? So if your body is like, look, I want to prioritize health, wellness, longevity, functionality, and you're like, I can get on board with that, then the body's also going to it's going to crave certain resources. It's going to need certain resources. And if you prioritize giving it those resources, if the body's priority and your priority in the same place, you'll boost your outcomes. And that's essentially what Steve's been talking about. The reason why weight loss is so difficult and mystifying for people is because our priority and the body's priority are two different places. You just need to get in alignment, and proper education, understanding how the body works, is really the key. Once you have that knowledge base, we always know the application of knowledge is power. So now you have to give the body the tools. I saw in the chat, someone said, is fasting going to help with this process? Is fasting going to help with gout? Is fasting going to help with blood pressure, cholesterol? Is fasting going to help with blah, blah, blah? You know, insert whatever disease or thing that you're dealing with. Yes, fasting is always going to help. Why? Because fasting is a tool that you can use to help holistically. It's a resource that the body's going to use. Why? You get to recuperate your energy. in order. So we know we need hydration. We know we need minerals. We talk about all this stuff. We always talk about the big marketing things that they talk about. It's just the gimmicky stuff. But one of the most important things no one really talks about is the energetic resource your body needs to manufacture the results you want. Whether it's building muscle, losing weight, or reversing a disease, that takes energy. And one of the primary ways that you get energy is through hydration. This is why we get into it when I talk about like losing weight and loose skin and all of that stuff. People always challenge. They always want to challenge me, even though I'm one of the only resources on the internet that teaches how to lose 100 pounds without loose skin. Right? You can't, like, there's not all these people teaching this. You've got me as a resource, and there may be a few others that are out there. I just have never seen them. I've never heard of them. Right? I'm not the only person that understands this, but we need to focus on hydrating the cells, because through hydration of the cells, right, getting water into the cells, it gives them energy. That energy then the body uses in turn to do the work of removing the toxicity from the system, managing waste management, making sure the packages go out in a proper order, making sure that everything is prioritized properly. This is what's going to supercharge your entire weight loss journey and your entire health journey. So understanding what the body needs in the way of resources, giving it what it wants, and then supporting it with different tools, and then allowing it to do things in that. I saw somebody say that they were at war with their fat cells. Yeah, because you've been taught that. The industry wants you to be at war with yourself. It's important that we are at war with ourselves, because as long as we are fighting ourselves, as long as we have that internal struggle, we will never blossom, we'll never grow. We're never going to progress and be who we're supposed to be, and we're never going to accomplish what we're supposed to accomplish. That is why infighting is so powerful when it comes to the downfall of a nation, an army, or collective. It's one of the ways that some of the most devious people in history have taken down large, powerful countries or groups of people. It's through creating infighting. And it's one of those things that is super covert. You understand? It is a covert tactic. That's what makes it so powerful. People don't realize it's happening. And what you got to understand is propaganda is utilized as a tool to create infighting within yourself. So whether you are fighting against your fat cells, whether you're fighting against cancer, which is a natural process that happens, it's a natural response to overtoxification of the body. So we hate cancer because that's what we've been taught to do, and I was one of them. So it's not like, I'm some special guy. I was definitely one of them. And so we hate our body. We hate the processes that our body goes through. We hate the results that we're getting. There's a lot of things that we're going to project negative energy towards ourselves. And then, of course, that impacts our results. And why does it impact our results? Because there is this thing called the placebo effect. And on the other side of the coin, there's this thing called the nocebo effect. These effects are where your mind is so powerful, it has the ability to create whatever outcome you believe is true. Okay? So for those who don't know what the placebo and nocebo effect are, it is basically where, you're in a some type of clinical trial or something like that, right? 50% of the participants are giving like a true antidote, a pill or whatever. The other half are given like a sugar pill. And the people who get the sugar pill believe they're getting the real antidote, the pill, the drug that's going to help them. And what they have found by observing these people is those who get the sugar pill have better, similar, if not better results than the people to get the actual drug itself. And that all is showing us the power of belief. So if through propaganda, we can teach you that your body is against you, Steve, I think you touched on autoimmune disorders. If we could teach you that your body is against you, then you will never succeed. If you believe that your body is against you, that's the outcome you're going to get. That's why it's important to unlearn and understand that your body is never against you. And it is okay to not understand how the body works. It's okay to try to figure it out, right? You're just going to do research, you're going to try to figure it out. But you have to understand your body is made up of all of these little microorganisms, right? And these microorganisms live inside you no different how we live inside the earth. So the same way that we as healthy thinking human beings want to sustain life on earth because we are a part of that life, and we want to make sure that things are going smoothly, the earth is thriving, because if the earth is not thriving, we don't thrive. The same way that on the macro scale, that's what's happening inside you, those microorganisms have the same feeling. They have the same desire to see you thrive. So when you put a belief on them that it's you versus them, right? That becomes problematic. That infighting will destroy us. So anybody who has that idea in their mind that any part of your body is against you, it is time to unlearn that. That is not true. It will never be true. Now, the interesting thing about the microorganisms, they can be intoxicated just the same we can. So sometimes we get intoxicated by alcohol, by power, or by chemicals, and it may cause us to do something damaging to the body. So in that instance, the body will then encapsulate those intoxicated cells, those mutated cells, or those harmful cells. They will surround them by healthy cells, and they will neutralize the harmful cells, and that's also a part of the body. We call it a tumor. And then what happens is the body, if you stop taking in the stimulus that's causing your cells to be toxic and erratic, then the body will resolve that and the tumor will go away. But what we try to do is we try to go in and we try to cut it out. We try to just cut it out. We're not resolving the problem. We're not changing our habits. We're not adding resources. We're not doing anything to benefit. Once again, we got to be in alignment with what the body is doing. We're not doing anything to benefit the process the body is taking. We're just going in and disrupting it. And then that's why you continue to see growths and things coming back, because we're not giving the body a nutrient and a resource to deal with the problem properly. So one of the benefits of being a part of our R72 challenge is you get the dynamic viewpoint of several different coaches. Once again, if you guys have not got an opportunity, I would say go back and watch the live streams we've had going all week long. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to the idea of fasting, or if you're new to fasting with a group, this will at least give you a little bit of understanding of some of the benefit. Someone asked in a comment section, is the R72 challenge a good opportunity for someone who's new with fasting? Not only is it a good opportunity for you if you're new with fasting, it was designed for entry-level fasting. It was designed for people who maybe have fasted and got off of their way, got off their path, or if you're brand new to fasting, or if you just simply want to continue whatever process you've been doing and do it with a group and have accountability and just get all the synergy involved with the process. Our group coaching is the most successful thing that we've done to date. And we've got different versions of it. It started with our 40-day wellness class, which was phenomenal. And that was really what birthed the idea of our R72 challenge, our 21-day fasting challenge, because we saw how powerful group coaching was. And then we noticed that when we expanded the size of the group, it also increased outcomes, as well as people start becoming teachers within the group. So the group starts teaching the group. As you start to learn, you're a part of the group, you start to learn, how to get results. I also saw in the chat, I love this, people interacting and asking about gout. And does fasting help with gout? And I saw Matthew responding, talking about his experience with fasting. Matthew has a video on the channel. So if you guys haven't seen Matthew's interview, I would suggest you go check that out as well. And shout out Matthew. I see you said you haven't had a flare-up since October. That's incredible. That's incredible. The consistency that comes after the struggle, right? After all of the work that he put in. And he was still getting flare-ups throughout the process. It wasn't like he started fasting and day one, he never got a flare-up again. You know, you got to get your body to a certain level of health before the flare-ups stop. And that's the way it should be too. Because if you were able to get results from fasting day one, let's say you're dealing with gout and you're able to do your first fast and then the symptoms of the gout goes away, but the problem still persists under the surface, that will become very problematic. You have to continue. You got to become accustomed to the fasting lifestyle, but not just the fasting lifestyles, the dietary change and everything you're going to be doing to support that lifestyle. You have to become accustomed to that so that when you reverse your gout or reverse whatever issue you're dealing with, it's gone permanently, right? Because the only way you're going to get permanent change is through lifestyle change. There is a certain lifestyle that you maintain currently that is causing you to have gout, to collect these crystals in your blood, and it's causing you the pain and the agony that comes along with that dis-ease. If you don't change those habits, it's going to come back. So it's interesting how nature and our bodies are really like teaching us. If you're listening, if you're paying attention, if you know how to interpret the body, if you don't listen to the propaganda and the marketing claims, and if you really just focus on anecdotal evidence, like focus on your own experience, what are you experiencing? You know, and then with the guidance of those who have been there before you, I mean, that's the cherry on top. Because a lot of times internally, we know the right thing to do. It's just that we want to see that someone else has accomplished it. We want to know, okay, are we on the right road? And then maybe somebody else who's already accomplished it can tell us, yeah, you're on the right path. I went through the same thing. This is my result. You know, and then, of course, we also live in a microwave world, right, where we want results instantly. And so it's often comforting to know, well, how long did it take you to do it? Well, make sure you guys understand that everyone's journey is different. How long it took one person to do it may not be how long it takes you to do it. You could do it faster. You could do it slower. The thing is, you have to understand the body's going to prioritize in your world because your body is its own ecosystem. It's going to prioritize what you need to do first. So this is why, you know, it's important to understand that piece. And then, of course, you know, one of the beautiful things about having a large group of people, look, we've got 400 people signed up for the R72 challenge right now. The way that benefits us as a team and you know, as a coach, we get to look at y'all's outcomes as you go through this process. We get to look at your outcomes and we get to see the feedback. And then we get to gather all that data. And then we can basically give you an idea of what the average outcomes are. You know? So what are some of the average outcomes that we have seen with the R72 challenge? I highlighted some of the comments earlier because people were taught, Steve had mentioned prep. Someone asked, you know, can people get results without doing the prep? Yeah, you could get results without doing the prep. The question will be, why would you purposely not do the prep? So this is going to kind of tie into one of the main points that I have been driving home this week. We need you all to be coachable. We need you to be coachable. Everything that Stephen taught today, right? Understanding how the body works. He's been there back and back again. I mean, he's done it. He knows it. He understands it. So it's important to take the advice and the tutelage of somebody who has been there and knows it and understands the ups and downs. You know, I would venture to say, if we were able to poll every person on this call tonight, Stephen's situation and what he experienced was probably more extreme than most people's. And now I'm not saying that to try to compare trauma or anything of that nature. But what I'm saying is when we look at raw data, because sometimes we got to do that. We're looking at raw data, you know, starting off at 400 pounds, losing 100 pounds, gaining it all back again, then ultimately losing 200 pounds, having to go through that process. There's many of you on here that will never even have 200 pounds to lose, you know? So, and that's okay, right? That's okay. But what I'm saying is you typically want to follow somebody who really understands your struggle, has been there, and has gone through the fire. Because they're going to be able to give you the best advice versus someone who has just read about it in books, doesn't really understand it well. Maybe they're guessing, or maybe they're going off of secondhand information, and they're not going to be able to give you that more detail, that intricate detail, that intricate advice. Like, they're not going to really be able to get in nooks and crannies. One of the things that I decided to do with this challenge, I decided to get back to my fasting roots, because I did a tremendous amount of fasting early on, and then I let off the brake because I got really small, to be honest. And it wasn't a health thing for me. It was more of an aesthetic thing, right? Like, I was very, very thin. For those of you who came to our first event in Dallas 2019, you guys saw me at my peak weight loss, right? When I had just completed my 90-pound weight loss, and I was on the road of normalizing my weight. And so I let off the fasting gas quite a bit, and really just went into a maintenance fast, which I also promote and talk about. And I think that's very important. But this time around, I decided I want to get back to the basics, right? It's important for those who are teaching, who are coaching, to be in the trenches, if you will. So with this particular R72 challenge, I am going to be doing the challenge with you all. Sometimes I'll start challenges, or I'll tell you guys I'll do it for a week or 2 weeks or whatever the case is. I'm going to be doing this challenge all the way through for a couple different reasons. Number one, I want to make sure that my knowledge base stays fresh. It's important to revitalize. It's important to go through the process. Everything that we're teaching in the challenge came from personal experimentation from myself, Steven, and some of the other coaches. But you want to keep yourself sharp. The other thing is, we have a couple of new products that are very cutting edge. Some of you guys are already familiar because I've been talking about it. But one of the products is called Sculpt. Sculpt is a true weight loss supplement, but it's not one of those traditional ones. It's just made of natural products, natural herbs, natural ingredients, and it's formulated in a way to help support the weight loss journey. Now, I'm a very big proponent of testing before I, talk about products and things of that nature. So I did testing on this product back in late last year. Might have been October or something, November, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I had some pretty interesting results. So I wanted to put Sculpt on the chopping block. I wanted to really see what would it do in one of our challenges. And so I'm going to be highlighting that journey by using Sculpt, by utilizing our fasting. I'm going to basically give you guys a real-time look at what I'm experiencing. This is going to help you to tweak your fasting journey as well. And also it's going to give you feedback on maybe some of the things you guys can use if you're struggling. My goal here is to make the process seamless for you guys. I want to make sure that if 100 people join our challenge, I want to see over 50% of you guys successful. So I'm constantly pushing the limits. Listen, I don't really understand impossible. I tell you guys this, I don't know what that means. Most of you guys who are in marketing or teaching, 50% success rate in any type of online class, course, or whatever is off the charts. It doesn't happen. That's what I'm pushing for. I want to see, we already have a success rate that is the industry standard. It's above the industry standard. I want to push beyond that. And I want you all to help me do that. The way that you could do that is by being coachable. I want you guys to, for a second, remove your conscious mind from the driver's seat just for a moment. And I want you to allow those who you say have the outcomes that you want. I want you to allow those who are leaders, who have a proven track record. We've helped thousands of people lose hundreds of thousands of pounds. We know what we're doing. We are extremely successful. I want you to allow us to lead. I want you to join our challenge. I want you to read the PDF guide. I want you to watch the content. I want you to join the live streams. If you can't join the live streams because time zones or whatever, watch the replays. I want you to engage. I want you to add your questions. We have a form for you guys to fill out. Put your questions in the form. We will answer them during the live, the replay. And then when we give you the answer to your question, I want you to apply that. This is how you're going to get the most out of the experience. I know some of you all, we do our best to make our challenges as affordable as possible. I know some of you all are in different countries. You have different financial situations. So what I did was I added an option. It's called Pay After. It's called Afterpay. So you guys have the option to break the challenge up into smaller payments if you guys want to join and finances are a thing. I wanted to let you guys know that. So succinctly, what are you getting with the challenge? You're getting a quick start guide, which you guys can use anytime you want, right? We give it to you with this challenge. But if you guys don't have time to use it, that's okay, because we're going to be giving you a full PDF guide when you join the challenge, and then we're going to get started. So our live stream, our intro live stream starts tomorrow. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay. Once again, if you can't join at that time, no worries. The replay will be available. We have several live streams that we're going to be hosting throughout the challenge. So in addition to that, you're going to get access to our secret membership area. This is where all the magic happens. This is where all the synergy happens. This is where you can post your accountability posts. You can ask questions of other members. You can research. We have a backlog of 2 years worth of challenges in there. It's either a year and a half or 2 years worth of challenges that are in there. You guys have access to all the live streams. You have access to all the interaction. You can put in the search bar, you can search specific questions related to the challenge, or how, like maybe certain things, maybe you have high blood pressure and you're wondering, hey, what's maybe an alternative that I could use instead of my blood pressure medication? We've talked about it. It's in there. It's in the live streams. It's in the chat. We have information available for you to get the result you want. You also have access to the 6 coaches that are going to be available during that challenge. We have coaches that specialize in essential oil therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. We've got life coaches. We have fasting coaches. I mean, you name it, basically. So you're going to get access to all of that, right? The guide is going to take you through the process. You don't need to prep before you join the challenge. Everybody always asks, Chris, it's too late. I didn't have time to prep. The prep is built in. It is a 30-day process, and all we're asking is for the next 30 days that you allow us to be in the driver's seat. We're going to be like your GPS. Okay? You're still controlling the car. Okay? So maybe we're not in the driver's seat. You're still controlling the car, but we're going to be your GPS. We're going to tell you, hey, turn left up here. Hey, turn right. Oh, wait, there's a speed trap. Watch out for the cops. Okay? That's our job. All you guys got to do is follow our directions. The cost of the challenge is $98. It starts tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Time is our live stream. You guys will have the ability to join up until Monday evening, okay? After that, the challenge will close. You do not need to buy anything extra. The Sculpt product is an add-on that you guys can get if you choose, all right? The link for the Sculpt is in the chat currently. It's also going to be in the PDF guide, so you guys will get the opportunity to get it later on if you want to. But what I'm going to say is, you don't have to take my word from it. I believe we've got people in the chat currently who have been talking about, the weight loss that they got from doing just the prep. 10 pounds, 12 pounds, 16 pounds. I think people in the chat have been talking about using the Sculpt product and how beneficial it is already, just started using it and already seeing the benefit. I think people in the chat are talking about the synergy and the benefit of being in the group and the accountability that comes along with it. I don't have to say it. We are a family here, fortunately, right? And the family is going to prove it to you. Like, I don't got to do it. And that's what I love about it. The proof's in the pudding. Join, if you are on the fence, join the challenge and test it. Like, just literally just test us. See what type of impact the experience has on you. For in real time, it is a small investment considering what could happen to you later on down the road. I think, Jasmine talks about, look, people talk about they don't have time to invest in their wellness journey. They don't have the money to invest in their wellness journey. And that's okay. Everybody is welcome to their own process. But if you don't pay now, you're going to pay later. Because early mortality is a real thing, especially in the United States. Obesity, which is one of the number one diseases that we tackle, absolutely increases your risk of mortality. I tell people all the time, where are all the 90-year-old obese people? There is a reason why you don't see 90-year-old obese people. I understand that a lot of us think that we're supposed to die in our 80s and late 70s. I get that. That goes back to the propaganda. That goes back to what we were taught. That's misinformation. But even if you believe that to be true, there are people that do live to 95, 105, 110 years old. What sets them apart? Well, I can tell you one thing I don't see. I don't see those people who are 100 years old obese. I don't see that. So we understand that obesity does shave years off of your life. Is that worth your time? Is that worth your resources? Also, it's not just the time. Some of y'all might be like, I don't want to live to be 100. Okay. What about quality of life as you go into your quote unquote golden years? Is that of relevance to you? Do you care if you remember the birth of your grandchild or your great-great-grandchild? Does that ring a bell with you? Because what we also are seeing with the increase of this medical-induced longevity, we're also seeing the increase of degenerative brain disorders where, yes, you are here, but you're not really here. Maybe that doesn't do it for you. What about your mobility and your ability to do for self? Does that ring true? Is that of importance to you? Because Stephen tells in his story, in his late 20s, he was dealing with such severe inflammation, he wasn't able to properly care for himself in his 20s with young children and a family. So imagine what would have happened, extrapolate over the next 20 years. And all he would have been is in his late 40s or early 50s, where he would have been had he not made the change. That ain't even 80 years old. That's 50. Is it important for you to have functionality of your body, your limbs, be able to wash yourself properly, be able to see, be able to talk properly? Okay? We all see President Joe Biden out there mumbling, bumbling, and fumbling. Do you want to be that age and you don't know your left from your right? You don't have proper equilibrium. You're falling all the time. It's sad to say it, but he is a public joke right now, right? Because when people get into politics, the respect goes out the window. They don't really respect, just they don't care about that. You've got comedians and other political pundits and people just making fun of him because he doesn't know what's going on. And he really shouldn't be running the country in that condition, but that's a whole nother topic. The point is, my grandma is 92 now, Steve? She just turned 92 or 93? I'm having trouble keeping up. She's in that area. Okay. I'm having trouble keeping up. She just keeps stacking on the years. And she planted the seed in me that grew into a healthy alternative, honestly. Right? So it's important that we take grasp and a hold of our wellness journey and do something with the knowledge that we are obtaining right now while you can. There may come a time when it's too late to act. I'm sorry. We don't get unlimited lives. We don't get unlimited chances. You get finite chances. So if you guys are looking to take control, if you're willing to be coachable, follow instructions, if you're willing to listen to understand, not to reply, then this may be the challenge for you. Now, I want you to think about where you are now, but I also want you to think about where you can be, because that is also part of getting there. It's imagining yourself there. You have to kind of project yourself into the future. How are you going to interact with your friends and family? How do people think about you now? And how are people going to think about you once you've made your changes? And it's not just your contemporaries. Think about your legacy. Think about your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. Maybe you had a great-grandparent who accomplished something amazing in their life, and you hear the story of it, and you would look up at your grandparent or great-grandparent and wonder in awe. Wouldn't it be beautiful if you could give that experience to those that come after you? It's not always about us. We should prioritize ourselves, but think about how what you do affects those that come after you, good or bad. It doesn't just have to be the good stuff. They also are watching you, eat the fried chicken every day and eat cereal for lunch and breakfast and dinner. They're watching you drink the soda, diet or otherwise, right? So they're going to adopt those habits. We have to think about our legacy. Our community always talks about generational wealth and generational curses. The reality is we control that. It's not something that happens outside of us. We control whether our lineage is cursed or blessed. The decisions you make today will affect and impact 10 generations to come. So, what type of impact do you want to have? That's really the question. What type of life do you want to live? Do you want a long life where you have your faculties and you can enjoy it until the day you decide, I'm done here, I've done my work? Or do you want to forget who you are and think that your daughter is your sister or your son is your husband? Because that's what dementia does to you. You think you're back in the 1980s and it's 2024, 2023, 2020, 2030, 2050, whatever. Challenge starts tomorrow. I think the link's in the description box. Steve, I think this is as far as I go tonight, man. I don't got no more talking.
You don't got no more rap, huh?
I
just want to for those of you who have because there's been conversation about Sculpt. So just very quickly, just to give you kind of a synopsis of what Sculpt is, right? And this is a very, very basic overview, but I think this will make sense, right? But Sculpt does a couple of different things, right? So number one, if you've been here for this live and you watched yesterday's live, then you understand how important it is to ingest things in our body that are going to cause a detoxifying effect. So Sculpt has very powerful detoxifying mechanisms that help to then release fat from the body, not water or necessarily inflammation, but specifically fat. There's a reason that it got the name Sculpt, because in order for you to tone or sculpt yourself, you have to decrease fat. This is why typically you don't change your body shape by that first 20 pounds, because you aren't losing any fat, okay? So it's very important to understand that Sculpt helps you decrease fat inside of the body, okay? But one of the other ways that it helps you to decrease your body weight and fat is it also has an extremely powerful appetite suppressant due to the blend of ingredients that have been created to particularly stimulate the GLP-1 hormone pathway inside of the body. I know that sounds like, right? You hear about Ozempic, Zepbound, Mounjaro, all of these things, right? They are hormones that are stimulating the GLP-1 pathway. Well, Root has found a way to stimulate it naturally, not by giving you a hormone, right, but actually telling the pathway to work properly, right? So this is why Root is so amazing, because they don't have to give you a hormone. They can tell the body work properly. So what you then experience in about 5 to 7 days after taking Sculpt, your hunger is going to almost completely disappear. So whether you're taking Sculpt and you're here and you're listening, and you're like, I'm not ready to start the challenge, you still should probably go ahead and try Sculpt, right? But if you are taking, or if you are doing the challenge and you do want to, if you struggle with hunger, then Sculpt is really going to be your friend, because I have done it and I currently am taking it. And I'm telling you, for those of you guys who know me, you know that Zero One is my favorite Root product, but Sculpt is right behind it. And I've only been taking it for about a month and a half or so, consistently, because they were out of stock, but now they're all in stock now, so we can get it, baby, right? But for those of you who have asked about Afterpay with Sculpt, once again, it is they don't have Afterpay for Root. But you can set it up on Root Prime subscription, and it does allow you to save $29. So make sure you grab it. It's worth it. I promise you. You set it up on Root Prime, keep it for a month, and I promise you, you find out that you really enjoy it. And then as you continue using it, and then you stop, you're going to be like, wow, it was really working, because now I'm really hungry. So if you struggle to do OMAD, or if you struggled with hunger, or you just in general, start taking it and watch how it really destroys your appetite. I mean that and dead serious. We don't promote products in general. It's really good. So check it out. But that's all I got, man.
Does water help to heal chronic inflammation? Yes, it does. Stephen, where can they find your newsletter? You want to put that link in the chat real quick?
Yeah, I dropped it in a little earlier, but I'll drop it in again.
You could drop it in again.
Yes, sir.
How does chronic inflammation affect the lymphatic system?
I mean, very simply, the lymphatic system is well, as I spoke about, right? If you look at inflammation, most of that fluid is lymph fluid, right? So it really kind of gives the lymphatic system a time to kind of calm down, right? So it's not working so hard. But chronic inflammation keeps the lymphatic system moving all the time, which means that if it's always pushing, working at 100%, it's going to eventually get bogged down. So it gives it a chance to actually decrease and then do its job properly.
I answered this one earlier. Is the challenge good for a fellow first timer? 100% is designed for first timers. This was the question I saw earlier. At Matthew, have you done the R72 or pure water fast to help heal the gout? Matthew responded with a resounding yes. Go check out his interview where he talks about it. Can one fast on apples and water only? Yes, you can. Fruit fasting is a very beneficial technique. We like to teach several different techniques for people because different things work for different people. So whether it's apple fasting, orange fasting, or grape fasting, those all work well. Watermelon was all the rage last year this time.
Hey, just one quick thing. Something about apples, very specifically, they're extremely hydrating, and they're specifically detoxifying to the liver. So once again, that's very important to understand because we talked about inflammation and fat loss, right? If the liver is not working well, then it's going to be very difficult to lose fat. I have done 7 days on just purely apples, and first of all, you're not really hungry because they also have a lot of fiber, but you also will become very hydrated, and they work really well. So definitely go for it. And honestly, you can join the R72, and if you feel like water's just a little too much of a struggle right now, if you need assistance and you want to know more about fruit fasting or whatever, I got you. Because guess what? I've done it. And you can still get the same support by being inside of the group. So
Bruce had this question. I don't know how to pronounce this disease, but have you ever helped a person with no large intestine at all lose weight? I have not personally worked with someone that told me they don't have a large intestine and they lost weight with our program. Steven, I don't know if that's something that
I have not personally worked with somebody with this. No.
okay, but what I will say is this. This program is a holistic wellness program. So I know I had a question someone asked about MS. You know, I cannot say it enough. Fasting, which is the program we're teaching you, is beneficial holistically. It is literally always going to be better than like not doing it. It's going to be a benefit to you. And even if your benefit is incremental, better is better. It's better than you were before, so that's better. And you might find that you learn a lot about your body personally, which I think is the most important way to approach it anyway. We don't want other people telling us about our body, how our body functions, because when you generalize like that, especially when it comes to like medical treatment and stuff, it could become problematic. Care should be individualized. No one can give you more individual care than you. So what I would recommend is join the challenge, document your process, look at it, compare it to other things that you have done. It won't be harmful to you. So we could say that it won't be harmful to you, but document your process. And then what you can do is you can help us build our knowledge base. You can help us understand, what a person goes through and what they experience with this particular issue. And then that way we can help a larger audience of people. But I don't personally have that issue, and I don't know anybody who has. So we really like to work from a place of first person experience. That's why our information is so solid. But yeah, maybe you can help us to build out our knowledge base and understand that if it's something that you are dealing with personally, you can join and give us feedback. So I think that was the only super chat we had. I wanted to make sure to get that one. All right, that's all we got, y'all. Thank you for sticking with us. What I'm saying, a little hour and plus. But yeah, this is important. We're excited to work with you all. Link and everything's in the description box. Come join us. We're looking forward to hosting you. It's the last challenge until the summer. So if you're trying to get the summer body right, you want to do it with the group, come holler at us. We'll get you right for the summer. You know what I'm saying? You can wear your 2-piece swimsuit, all that stuff. Yeah. And so as always, the application of knowledge is power. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.